Welcome to this presentation on preparing for your STP Final Year Assessment. All guidance for your Final Year Assessment can be found on the National Schools website by following the QR code on the screen. This includes Cubicom walkthroughs. Cubicom is the platform being used to manage this assessment. So what is the STP Final Year Assessment? What does it look like? So the final year assessment consists of 7 stations. Each station involves a scenario and a question. You might have up to 2 questions per scenario, but no more than that. You will see the questions during the pre-reading alongside the scenario. All the information you need will have been provided through the scenario and the questions. The assessor does not have any more information to give you. You have 3 minutes for this pre-reading time. Then you have 9 minutes to respond to the scenario. This might mean you have lots of time left in the station after you've provided your response. Don't worry, this may feel awkward, but it's okay. We will address how you can manage this shortly. You need to provide all of your response before you leave the station. You cannot revisit a station once you have left it. And remember, poor performance in one scenario doesn't mean you will automatically fail the assessment. So what is a scenario? The skills and knowledge to manage the situation will be included in your curriculum, but the exact situation may not be something you have experienced. The aim of the assessment is to ensure you can navigate the scenario safely. No additional information will be presented to you. All the information you need will have been provided as part of the scenario in front of you. There'll be no images in the scenarios. Any results or information may be described to you in the scenario's text. Scenarios include very limited numerical information. Any values or levels you need to know may be described to you in relative terms, such as above or below threshold. This is intentional, as you do not need to do calculations or remember values for this assessment. So what will the questions be? In every scenario, you'll be asked a version of the question, what would you do in this situation? As already mentioned, you'll have a maximum of 2 questions. Any questions asked will be in the pre-reading. The assessor will not ask you any additional questions because the aim is not to trick you. So we've developed an acronym as a tool to support you during your assessment when responding to the scenarios in each station. And that acronym is PREP. So we're going to have a look at those individually now. So this stands for P, pause and process. The R, relate to professional responsibilities. The E, explain what you would do. And P, present a safe response. So the first P then is pause and process. So this is for each scenario, as we've already mentioned, you will have 3 minutes to read a summary of the situation you are being presented with and the question or questions posed about the scenario to allow you to prepare a response. Here you could have a blank piece of paper for any notes you want to make during the assessment to support you in that response, because you're under a pressured situation. You might find it useful to actually take a couple of notes to help you formulate your response. And that might help you with this bit where you take a moment to fully absorb what is being asked of you in that scenario. So as you know, following that pre-reading, you have 9 minutes to actually give your response to that. You don't have to start providing your response as soon as you enter the station. You can review the scenario and questions again if you need to, and you can see the time you have left in the station on screen. And for more information about that, if you look at the Cubicom trainee experience video on the website, that runs through that to show you what it will actually look like when you're in a station. As mentioned before, that 9 minutes might seem a lot of time, and you might find you have a lot of time left after giving your response. Don't worry about that, that is fine. But it might be an opportunity for you to pause and process again. So you might come back to this in that situation, just to take a step back and think about whether there is anything that you've missed. So take some time to think about anything else you would do in this scenario or you would like to add to your response, and that is fine. Remember, you can revisit the scenario and questions again, but remember, once you've left that station, you cannot re-enter that station. So use that 9 minutes to your advantage. So here's just an example scenario. It's not one that will be used at all. It is a cardiac science one, but it's basically what you will see on screen is a scenario and its associated question, or, you know, if you've got two questions, then both those will be shown on screen at the same time. As I said, this is an example from cardiac science. But basically, you know, if you remove some of the technical language, it is just about challenging bad practice. So the R then is relate to professional responsibilities. So your response will be related to all your professional responsibilities as a healthcare professional. So it's not just the scientific side or scientific principles, it's about the whole clinical experience. It's about upholding NHS values or guidelines like SOPs and HCPC standards, whatever is relevant to that situation and your experience. And then the E is about you explaining what you would do. So it's you walking through the steps you'd take scientifically, ethically, and professionally in response to that scenario. It's where you would mention any protocols that you would follow, emphasising patient safety and teamwork where relevant, but also about communication skills if that's relevant as well. So you will need to remain professional in your response, but you will not be marked on your presentation style. So, you know, if you don't talk about your actions in the order you would do them, that's okay. You just need to cover everything you would do by the end of the station. So if you want to add something in that would have come earlier in your response, then that's fine. Please say, you know, please actually mention what you want to mention. You don't need to talk through every step of the action you would take, as this might be different in different workplaces. It's helpful if you talk about the overall aim of the action you would take instead. So, for example, I would report the situation as a safety incident by following our department's protocol. The aim of the assessment is to ensure you know what to do in this situation by applying your knowledge. It's not about what you know. It's okay to say you would look something up or refer to guidance, as this is what you would do in the workplace. The important part is that you know what you need to find out and you know where to look. So it's about taking a holistic approach. So all scenarios are what will you do in this situation? So this is a mark scheme for the example scenario that I showed you earlier. So you can see how it is focused on actions and behaviours. Just to note here about the mark scheme, you as the candidate do not see the mark scheme. It's for assessors only. And just to be aware that you might not have to achieve every criteria in order to pass a station. So the final P is present. So it's about presenting a safe response. And the emphasis here is providing a safe, patient-centred and professional response when it comes to articulating what you would do in the given situation. So you're expected here, though, to remain within your scope of practice in the actions you describe you would take in response to the scenario. It's okay to say you would need to involve someone else in managing the scenario if that's appropriate. So just as a recap, there they are. You've got your pause, you relate, you explain, and you present. So preparing for the actual assessment. So what can you do in order to prepare prior to the assessment itself? Well, as we said, there's the knowledge, skills, and actions are all things that you would have developed through the curriculum as part of your work-based learning. So review your curriculum. So ensure you have a strong understanding of the learning outcomes and key concepts across both your specialty and the core modules. Reflect on your work-based learning. So consider experience from your work-based learning and training and how the knowledge, skills and behaviours you've developed are relevant to potential scenarios. Focus on professional standards. So understand the ethical and professional responsibilities of a clinical scientist in your specialty. And practice articulating your actions. So the assessment requires you to describe how you would manage scenarios. Think through common situations and how you would respond, focusing on safety and best practice. Another way to prepare for the assessment is to practice responding to scenarios using the PrEP model that I provided. Now, you can obviously discuss with your training officer what they might think of as appropriate things that might come up. You can sound out some ideas with them, or you can use an AI tool such as ChatGPT or Notebook LM, Google's version, to actually generate some mock scenarios relevant to your curriculum and to your specialty. And then you can practice responding to those using the PrEP model. And you can practice that either on your own or you can practice with your peers. So there might be people within the department or there might be those in your specialty that you know that might be in other departments, training departments, who will also be going through the final year assessment. You can practice it with those, with them as well. And that will help both of you. Or you can practice your responses with your training officer too, or just a trusted member of the team, so that you can have that opportunity really to verbalise what you would do in relation to specific scenarios. It's important that you understand the assessment requirements and engage with the school's guidance. And again, I've put the QR code up there for that again, just so that you can make sure that you've looked at everything relevant to undertaking the final year assessment. Part of that guidance is the Cubicon walkthrough, which is that recording that I've mentioned at the bottom of the slide there. So the trainee experience of Cubicon, just so that there's no surprises when you come to undertake your assessment. And finally, for the preparation, have faith in your abilities and how you've developed through the programme. You've worked hard, you've had a lot of experiences, you've engaged in a lot of work-based assessments and training activities. So you've got the skills, the knowledge, and know the behaviours that are needed in order to respond to the scenarios that will come up. So have faith in those and have faith in yourself. And that just leaves me to say thank you for listening. And all of us at the school wish you every success in your upcoming assessment. Thank you.